Installing osCommerce via Fantastico. This tutorial will show you how to install osCommerce via Fantastico. To prevent conflicts between similar file names, Fantastico will only allow you to install one package per directory. For example, you cannot have an osCommerce installation and a WordPress blog installed on the same site without specifying separate directories or subdomains for them. Scroll down to the e-commerce section. Click the osCommerce link. osCommerce is a versatile open-source e-commerce solution with a variety of custom themes and plugins available for it that can be downloaded and installed after the initial installation is completed. There is also extensive documentation for it available on their website at. There is also a support forum available at. Click the new installation link. Select the domain or subdomain where you want to install osCommerce. All subdomains, parked domains, and add-on domains currently installed on the account will be listed in the menu along with the primary domain. To install osCommerce on a subdomain, parked domain, or add-on domain, you will need to add the domain in cPanel prior to attempting the installation of osCommerce. In this case, we have created a subdomain called store.demo-domain.net previously for our osCommerce installation. Enter the install in directory if needed. Leave this blank if the URL to get to the osCommerce page will not include a directory. However, if you want the URL to include a directory, then you would enter the relative path to the directory in this field. It is also not necessary to create the directory prior to installing osCommerce. The installer will create it automatically. Enter a username for the admin access panel. Enter a password. Enter a shop name. Enter the owner's name. Enter the email sender address. This will be used for notifications, such as order confirmations sent automatically to your customers and does not have to be an actual email address that is capable of receiving email. Enter your email address. All notifications of all transactions will also be sent to this address so that you receive them. By default, Fantastico auto-populates this field with an email address based off of the cPanel username. However, the email address associated with your cPanel user is not on your domain, but rather on the host name of the server itself, so you will want to change this value to a valid email address. Select whether the installation will use SSL or not. Secure Socket Layer, or SSL certificates, are used to facilitate encrypted connections between the client and the server. The certificate is used to authenticate a public key that is generated by the server. The key is used on both ends of the connection to encrypt and decrypt the packets before and after they're sent between the server and the client, thus providing a secure connection between the two. This is needed when the site will be requesting that your customers submit their credit card information to the server to process transactions. If you will be using a payment solution, such as Express Checkout that comes with PayPal's Web Payments standard merchant accounts, where the user is redirected to the merchant account provider's site to process the transaction and then directed back to your site once the transaction is completed, you will not need to use SSL. You will need your own certificate, however, if you are using a traditional payment gateway, such as Authorize.net. osCommerce can be easily configured to work with many of the most common merchant account solutions. However, the merchant account does not come with osCommerce and must be secured separately. Check with the merchant account provider and/or the osCommerce documentation for compatibility with a particular payment solution. There are generally two types of certificates: signed certificates, which are issued and independently verified by a third party that issues them, and self-signed certificates that are created by the server using it. You will need a signed certificate to use SSL with osCommerce. Specifications for SSL certificates require that only one certificate can be installed per IP address, so if the account is on a shared IP, you will need to have your account moved to a dedicated IP to use SSL for your osCommerce installation. However, the installation of the SSL certificate can be handled after the osCommerce installation is completed. Enter the secure server hostname. SSL certificates are generated for specific fully qualified domain names. This will need to match the host name that you will use for the SSL certificate when it is generated. Click the Install osCommerce button. Click the Finish Installation button. osCommerce has been installed. The login screen for the admin panel can be reached at. Let's scroll down some more. Fantastico gives us the option to send the details of the installation, including the login information, to an email address. This is useful when installing osCommerce for a client who will manage it or storing it for later reference. Enter an email address. Click the Send Email button. Click the Back to osCommerce Overview link. Now let's go to the site. Enter the address. If the server your account is on is using PHP-SU-exec, you may see the second warning on the page. This is because they're being run as the user that owns the file instead of the nobody or Apache user as they would be in a traditional web server configuration. To fix these, we're going to need to delete the install directory and change the permissions on the configuration.php file in the File Manager in cPanel. Now we will navigate to the directory that the file is in. Click the Includes directory. Click the icon next to the configure.php file. Click the Change Permissions icon. Uncheck the right checkbox for the user. Click the Change Permissions button. Now let's go back to the store. Click the Refresh button. For demonstration purposes, osCommerce will have sample data for categories, products, etc. that will be stored in the database and displayed when you first install it. This sample data can be easily removed or modified to suit your needs. Now let's log in to the admin panel. Enter the new address. The URL to access the administration tool is the same as the store with the path admin / appended to the end of it. Enter the username. Enter the password. Click the Login button. Congratulations! You now know how to install osCommerce via Fantastico.